Training camp's almost here, and we're getting ready to draft and redraft. We're doing best ball drafts right now on Underdog Fantasy. Today, we're going over a bunch of running backs, going over their player values, their advanced metrics. We're going over strategy with those players and with Zero B, Hero B, how we want to approach our drafts with these players if we're playing multiple drafts or just one league. We're going to have you covered. Before we dig in, though, you need to click that subscribe button right now. Training camp's almost here. I'm going to have clips of almost all the players from training camp, your rookies, guys you're getting ready to draft, guys on your favorite team. Also, we're doing player lists like this. We're going to be covering draft strategies. We're going to help you with your leagues, help you set your lineups. It's all right here for free. Click that button. Stop missing out. First running back today, we're looking at Jahmyr Gibbs. We're starting at the top. We're going down to the bottom. Drafted as the third running back off the board on Underdog Fantasy, 6th overall. And that could be up and down in that first round, but that's on average there. What you see last year is really we did not have any downer weeks. We had one RB3 week, 10.3 points. So all our weeks were above double digits, 21.1 points per game. We're looking at that. Second among running backs with that number. 1.16 points per opportunity, targets and touches. That's fourth among running backs. Yards created, third among running backs. When you look at all the numbers, you do not see any dichotomies when it comes to efficiency. You're seeing a good juke rate, good yards per touch, second among running backs at 6.4. Evaded tackles, fourth. We're up there in all the numbers. This is a running back that's very explosive on an offense that can be very explosive with a lot of their matchups. His opportunity share week to week is always in double digits. On the low, it can be around 12 when you're looking at opportunities, rushing attempts plus targets. But on top of that, you can hit almost a 30 in a game. We got 28, 28, 24, 22, 21, 20 in week 2. But we're getting a lot of opportunity in the passing game. We run about 12 routes a game, which is very high for a running back. But we're also splitting the workload a little bit, but allows them not to get too much workload where the opportunity of getting banged up increases. So all in all, it's very safe, but you also got to look at the strategy here. Knowing that wide receiver, when you're looking at top tier workload, are you going wide receiver early? Are you looking at these top 3 to 5 wide receivers or more? Are you going that route and slamming the later running backs? Are you going round 2, round 3 running backs as your hero RB instead of a round 1 running back? Are you doing that with the opportunity costs? And on top of that, the last couple years, running backs, the injury rate has dipped a little bit. What if it just goes back to the mean and some of these running backs get banged up a little bit more? Are you looking at that? I'm talking in question form because it's not take. I'm just getting the wheels turning for you. Would you rather have like a Puka, Jonathan Taylor? Would you rather have Jahmyr Gibbs and a Rashee Rice, Ladd McConkey, T. Higgins? Would you rather start off like that? Would you rather start off Puka Ladd, Puka Rashee, Malik Ladd, Malik T? Would you rather start off that way and then get your running backs? Maybe got a Kyron in there. Maybe you want to go that route. What's the route you want to go with? Because the numbers are here. The opportunity's here. Football's got to be played. We know what we're getting in here. Once football starts, the numbers are going to change. But what's your strategy here with these top-level players? How are you diversifying? Are you having leagues where you start off with running backs and the next league you start off with wide receivers? You're more mixed-bagged here. How are you approaching these drafts? That's the question here when you're looking at these top-level players. Do you like them over Saquon Barkley or Bijan Robinson? I can make the case either way with all of them. I'm seeing Christian McCaffrey just inching up the board every time I look at this. That is one take I'm seeing here. I'm seeing Christian McCaffrey inch his way up the board. Are you noticing that? Because I've been doing these videos. I started earlier this year, and I'm seeing him go later in first, early second, and he's inching his way up. Do you feel like that's too expensive? There's a lot of questions here. We know he's a good player, but what are the questions? What are you scared about? Are you scared of David Montgomery still? Are you worried about that? But are you thinking Gibbs is going to get more opportunities? I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to get a good role in the passing game. I think the overall question is, how do you want to strategize, how you want to start the start of your draft. But going a little bit deeper, RB13, round 3 price tag per Underdog Fantasy. Usually in redraft leagues, running backs could bump up a little bit depending on the savviness of your league. You really have to know that market, or it could stay relatively flat to that when it comes to running backs. Younger running backs could drop a little bit, like your rookie, second-year guys who haven't flashed. Points per game, 17.4 points per game, 17 here on Player Profiler. What we're seeing here is a dichotomy in efficiency, but a lot of workload. The question with Kyren Williams, we drafted Jarquez Hunter, we have Blake Corum. Do those running backs take a step forward? However, Sean McVay loves consistency. Are they going to continue to ride out Kyren Williams? Is he going to continue to be one of the top running backs in the league in snaps, pass block opportunities, getting all this work? Another thing you want to look at here is we're not running a lot of routes. We're under 10 routes per game. There's some games where it fluctuates, but we got an 8% target share, 34th among running backs. So what if we get a dip in touchdowns? What if the touchdowns dip a little bit? That's another question. What if this workload impacts him? What if we start seeing that? The flip side is, what if Sean McVay is still micromanaging, still gives him a lot of touches, he holds up? We even have this efficiency dichotomy, but it doesn't matter. We're getting 16, 17 points per game. I'm talking in questions. I'm talking both sides. The value here with him is you got a guy who's going to get a good potential workload, and you're getting him in round 3 versus other running backs that potentially could get similar workloads, 2 rounds, 1 round more expensive. You could go Puka, Ladd, Kyren, start off your draft that way, and then just go with how the draft flows after that. Maybe you like that look instead of paying up for a running back. Or maybe you'd rather have Gibbs. Maybe you'd rather have Gibbs and a wide receiver, and then you're playing the draft after that, and you're looking at Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, JSN. You got a flavor there. Or you'd rather have Breece Hall. Or you'd rather have Chase Brown, James Cook, and Marin Hampton chasing that upside. When I'm looking at Kyren Williams here, he's getting a lot of workload, and it's a matter of time before that workload leads to an injury, and those backup running backs get an opportunity. Blake Corum is a stout running back prospect. Hunter's a good running back prospect. I imagine if they have to lean on those running backs, they're going to look good, and I imagine they could look good enough to where that could lend us into a committee. That is what you're worried about here. But on the flip side of that workload is immense. They do not let him leave the field. So even if we see a reduction in workload, it should be a lot. It should be trending top 5, top 8 in the league, even if it's somewhat of a committee, until the injury bug starts biting. And that happens to all running backs. The thing is, the price tag's fine, because you're after Breece Hall, you're after Chase Brown, then after that, Marin Hampton. There's a lot of upside there. You got James Cook. He's in a price tag scenario where you're looking at this, where you got to strategize around it. You have to look at that. But going at RB23, David Montgomery enters the chat. We covered some of his workouts earlier this offseason. Looks like he's going to be good for the 2025 season. We'll watch him in training camp, but it looks like he's good to go. He's back in the playoffs for a bit. But we're looking at him multiple RB1 weeks and only 1 game with single-digit fantasy production. 7.5, week 15. 7.5. Thing about this week 6, we're in the RB dead zone. And when I look at the chart here at the very bottom of the Underdog draft ADP, there's a storyline with these running backs. And it's a story of, are you going to go with that RB2 that you know about that might have some upside, that might squeak by with more production than realized, that will definitely help you out as long as they turn out to be healthy for the full season? Or are you going to chase that upside with that young player? Quinshon Judkins, Trevion Henderson, RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson, compared to other running backs? Are you chasing the upside, or are you going with the known commodities? That's the question there. And in the micro, you just pick the guy that you like, because I can give you a story of each. RB23 is a good price tag. Round 6 on Underdog, especially if you're stacking Lions. There's other running backs you may like better, and that's cool. Kenneth Walker is good when healthy. He was getting more work in the passing game. Alvin Kamara, till Father Time looks at him in the face, he's still going to be Alvin Kamara. James Conner, until Father Time looks at him, he's still James Conner. And now you're looking at the younger running backs here. Like, would you rather go that route? I want to have some of these younger running backs. I know some of these guys are going to go off. I want some of these guys in my portfolio. But I'm also going to take the values on some of these veterans. That is the question here. You're also looking at the wide receivers. Now you're looking at ambiguous wide receivers with upside. Ambiguous wide receivers that's done it before too, that have some questions, like Jalen Waddle. He's done it before, but had a setback last year. Zay Flowers. That offense is off and on in the passing game when it comes to volume. George Pickens' new team. Cortland Sutton is a guy that you may want to pay attention to when it comes to air yards. And that injury history that has passed, that's not really here anymore, is kind of there. Aged wide receiver as well. When it comes to continuity of people drafting, Rome Odunze, does he take a step forward? You're looking at this. This is the question of your draft. Who are you putting your chips on? But when you're looking at the efficiency metrics here, yards created per touch, 12th among running backs. That's looking good. We're still efficient. Juke rate's good. Yards per touch, 20th. Evaded tackles, 10th. So in this range, he's fine efficiency-wise. But do you think Father Time's going to start hitting him soon? That's the question. Is that going to happen? Or what if something happens to Gibbs? Now you got Montgomery. You can't really stack them. This is so expensive. A round 1 running back, a round 6-ish running back, that's an expensive stack to have him as a handcuff. He's kind of on his own, but he is on his own. He's an RB2 until he's not an RB2. That's the thing about this. And he can get you RB1 production, which is what you want from your RB2s. 16 points per game. That's a solid output. We're not running a lot of routes. We're running 5 a game. That's something that could impact his upside, and his floor could be much greater in the future due to that, especially as things start to slow down. Efficiency, we're fine. Evaded tackles, yards created per touch, we're fine, especially from where we're drafted at, the volume, the team's efficiency. There's just other running backs in this area that you may want to look at. Opportunities, 15.9 opportunities per game. Lowest was 10, 11, 9. But you're usually around the 13 to 18 range when it comes to targets and rushing attempts. And most of those are rushing attempts because we're only running 5 routes per game. But we got a good deal here. RB33, Travis Etienne, being drafted round 9 on Underdog. And he's running with the ones now, right now, in minicamp and OTAs. That could change. However, this team made some drastic changes this offseason. They drafted Basil Tootin. They drafted LaQuint Allen. Last year, it was horrendous, though. 8.7 points per game. On the low is like 7, 5, 5.3, 6.3, negative 0.1, 5.7. Injuries baked in there. No RB1 weeks. He didn't win any weeks for fantasy. He had an okay start. The year prior was good. Can we revert back to that? Can we get back? We have a change in coaching staff, change in philosophy. We're getting 13.5 opportunities per game. And we're looking at a guy here that has proven it before. The discount's great. And you're looking at what's around him. Jalen Warren, Tyron Tracy, Cam Scatterboo, Zach Charbonnet. We can definitely see that in the realm of possibilities. However, if we get hit with an injury, it might turn into a full-blown committee or job completely lost if one of those young guys step up. That's something to look at. So he has to get right. He has to come off the floor quick this year, keep his job. He has to look good in training camp. He has to come out weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and kill it. If not, there's hungry young running backs behind him lurking. But RB33, that's a price tag to look at. But this is also a range where you might be looking to get your first quarterback if you waited, or if you're waiting longer, or you might be looking at tight end. You're thinking about that route, as we're kind of at that point where we're still paying up, but not at the highest point for tight ends. There's also some wide receivers here with some upside that you may want to put some chips on. There are some handcuffed running backs you may want to look to as well, depending on what you're doing. But round 9 price tag, That actually might come up in basic home league drafts, considering he's a consistent name, considering he's going to get more buzz if he remains healthy during training camp. People might be looking at him. One thing you could do is if you're getting him in round 9, then you have to go with like a Basil Tootin. Look at 10. You have to get one of the other running backs. You have to do that. That's a cheap little stack of the Jaguars' backfield. Now the other question is, do you want to stack the Jaguars' backfield? Do you want to do that? And your question is, can we revert back to where we were before last year, or is this going to be the trend? Right now, they're giving him the opportunity to be the guy, the 1A back, because Tank's probably going to be 1B. But you also have dogs looking at him over his shoulder, willing to take that job if something happens. It could be outside his control, too. That's the thing. It could be an injury. And if that happens, that could be a huge impact for the rest of the season. But if you want to take that gamble, it's cheap. 101st player off the board right now. Another cheap player is Ray Davis. When he got his opportunity, he hit. He played well. Working behind Cook. Cook gets a lot of work. He gets a lot of opportunity. The Bills getting weird game scripts. They might get in some more game scripts where they got to throw the ball more. Meaning because they had some games last year where they had to run it a lot. But yards created per touch, 20th among running backs. Considering a rookie, limited opportunity, but just got thrust out there in some moments, that's solid. That's actually kind of solid if you want to look at it with that context. Juke rate 14th, yards per touch 26th. Cheap double-digit round ADP. This is a running back that got drafted in the middle rounds. Running backs get hurt. If you got Cook, you may want to look at Ray Davis. Very cheap. It's hard for me to argue against running backs in this range. You kind of just take your poison. But look at rookies and year 2 running backs if you're chasing upside. The upside with him is if something happens with Cook and he has to be the guy. He's proven he can be the guy. He proved that in week 6. He proved that week 9. He can handle a full workload. He's built for that. He's got good vision. You can use him in all phases. They used him in the passing game a little bit. He had some good receptions. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be overly exposed in the passing game. They're going to have a little committee there. But you're looking at Ray Davis, a very good functional running back at cheap cost. Braylon Allen, kind of similar. And he had his moments as well. Week 2, he went off. Had a good performance in week 14. Getting the touches when Breece Hall came out. That's what we're looking at Braylon Allen. 53rd running back off the board right now. He's cheap. Breece Hall has been nicked up through his career. It could come back. He's a running back. That's just what happens with running backs. This is a cheap handcuff for that. He lit it up at Wisconsin. Very productive. A very young running back prospect with good size that can handle a full workload. He runs a lot of routes in this offense for being a 1B backup running back. 8.4 routes per game. That's something to pay attention to. He will get work in the pass game. We noted that too in season when he was getting more opportunities. When you're looking at yards created per touch, 29th among running backs, which isn't too bad given the context, yards per touch. He gets a lot of opportunities on short yardage and goal line. Look at him. He's a big boy. He's going to be delivering the thump, getting those opportunities. And you're going to see RPO action in this offense with Justin Fields. And if Justin Fields can cook, these running backs are going to cook. And cooking for him is just making that play every series or every other series, keeping the chains moving. Just making that 1 or 2 plays because these running backs are going to be able to get it done. This is a killer backfield here. I think this is a good value. A good value with upside. His profile from college says there's a lot of upside here. To where you're looking at these backs drafted down here. Like, Giddens here needs some stuff to happen, like Braylon Allen, and he's got some upside down here. But Miles Sanders, I can't ever see him being an RB1 consistently. I can't see that happening. All running backs can fall into that. But Braylon Allen is a running back that's so cheap right now that it's really hard to go against the grain with him. And I'm thinking double on him if I have Breece Hall. I'm seeing Jalen Wright. There's upside there. Roshan Johnson. Yeah. Braylon Allen at this price tag, I really like him. And I think that's a hell of a deal. Brashard Smith. If you want to talk about deals, guys, to look at, you're looking at this range here. Hunter, Lloyd, Sampson, the running backs. Chubb prior to that. Kareem Hunt, Keaton Mitchell is an upside dandy. You're looking at Blake Corum. but Brashard Smith is a guy to pay attention to. He's a guy that's going to be a dart throw in a lot of drafts that you're going to see in the waiver wire that you're going to pick up off and on throughout the season. The main number to watch with Brashard Smith is the routes ran, because that's what we saw with Jerick McKinnon. As his routes start to increase, we saw his momentum start to build. And then he had that run at the end of that season where he won some games for fantasy managers. You could definitely see that happening with Brashard Smith. This is a former wide receiver from Miami who was heavily recruited out of high school. He had some big moments there. We go to SMU, we switch to running back, we go off. This guy has a diverse skill set that could be used in the passing game. Throw him in the flat, move him around, use him up the gut in the run game. And the Chiefs could use him more than expected. But that could be something that slowly materialized throughout the season or next season. Lottery ticket running back. And the thing you want to pay attention to him is the routes ran as he's ramping up. And that could be this year, next year, year after. Watch how he's being deployed. We got speed to burn, 4.39 speed, 194 pounds, so we're not super small. They do not have draft capital in him, but they knew what they got when they got him. This is the deepest, most talented running back class of all time. So when you look at these later round picks, when you look at a guy drafting 7th round, 6th round, 5th round, pay attention to them a little bit more because they're more talented than your usual late round pick. Plus, we're on the Chiefs. We got that speed there. They're going to utilize his skill set in the right ways if he develops. A guy to pay attention to as a dart throw throughout the whole season, really, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. This is another dart throw running back. Not getting drafted on average on Underdog, but he is getting drafted somewhere. The thing about this, you're looking at Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, Jeremy McNichols had his moments last year. He had his moments last year. So if McNichols can have his moments last year, why can't Merritt? Why can't he have his moments this year? You're looking at a running back last year who did not get many opportunities due to what happened, but you just look at the tape throughout his career, and this is a guy with a killer dead leg, good vision, good in the open field, that has some pop in his step, tested good, above average in almost everything. This is a running back that could play well in the system if attrition hits. You're looking at the age of Eckler. You're looking at his attrition of what happened last year throughout his career, Brian Robinson. You're looking at running backs, and running backs are going to running back. This is a guy to put some chips on. Best ball, cool due to that, but a guy to pay attention to off the waiver wire the whole year. The whole year. He's cheap. 241 off the board. There's no bet with that. You just either do it or you don't. You just pick your guy at that point. Now we're looking at Audric Estime. They brought in J.K. Dobbins. They drafted R.J. Harvey. It sounds like they're leaning away from him, but he also has a skill set that McLaughlin doesn't have, Batty doesn't have, Dobbins doesn't have, Harvey doesn't have. Pounder up the gut, the size. He was a killer at Notre Dame. He's got good vision. But how can that help us in fantasy football? Attrition, like with all running backs. Do not discount him because he actually moves very good laterally for his size. He can evade contact, but yet run through it. Will he ever be like an RB1 for multiple weeks and years? Probably not. There's too much competition here. The transactions are starting to show its hand to where, hey, they want more talent. But attrition is the thing with running backs. A bad running back, like a Trey Sermon, like once every 3 weeks or so, they'll give you a performance that you can use in fantasy. You can't bet on it. But if you're hurting in lineups and Harvey goes down, Dobbins goes down, you're going to be looking at Audric Estime. You're closing your eyes and seeing if he crosses the goal line. He also has that skill set with his vision and his lateral agility, the ability to read momentum in the second level, to where with development off of what he did last year, he could surprise you. He could surprise you. This is a prospect that you don't want to sleep on, but you also don't want to not sleep on him so much that you don't realize that they drafted R.J. Harvey, they brought in J.K. Dobbins, some things need to happen. The draft community has also said that. So you just need to pay attention to him. You need to pay attention to the attrition of this team. Do not take him too lightly. Now we're looking at Devin Singletary. Same kind of instance here. We brought in Scadaboo, Tyrone Tracy. Exceeded expectations last year. He looked good. Devin Singletary has always been a good running back. He's a meat and potatoes running back. He's a lunch pail guy. When he's out on the field, he does what the coaches want. Everything tailed off last year. They mentioned that, hey, this could be a great three-headed monster for them, which is very scary for these running backs. But Devin Singletary, really, you want to see attrition in this backfield. You need things to open up for him. That's why he's free. He's not really getting drafted. So honestly, you're watching the health of Scadaboo. You're watching the touches of him. You're watching touches of Singletary. You're watching the routes ran. 7.3 routes per game, which doesn't sound great, but you got to understand Tyrone Tracy's a former wide receiver, and he was banged up. And then 2, he came in after that. Tyrone Tracy took the job, ran with it. So he's getting work in the passing game. He's getting opportunity there. He's a very efficient running back. We've seen that throughout his career. Father Time's eventually going to be looking at him, which it already did last year to some degree. That being said, yards created 27th among running backs, juke rate 12th. So there are some efficiency dichotomies on both sides of the spectrum here. Just a solid lunch pail running back that the coaches are going to love, that they're going to use him still, but maybe not enough for fantasy production. But if attrition hits this team, if bad play hits some of these running backs, they're going to lean on him. That's what he's there for. He's ranked 215 off the board, 293 off the board, 84th running back off the board. That's what the draft community is saying. So don't go over the board with them. Those are the running backs that we're looking at today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Stop missing out one. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.